Hello, today is Friday, February 18th, and this recording is for week 7 when you look at the chapter on recruitment and selection. And I'm sure much of the information in the chapter are things you are familiar with because you have gone through job interviews and you've applied for numerous jobs, so on and so forth. But just a few things to touch upon. We know in today's age, with all the technology, a lot of jobs now, you find them online and you actually complete an online application. And then it's up to the employer to weed through those applications and find the best possible fit for the position. And usually that comes down to the interview, and it's often the deciding factor of who's hired for the job. And it really is unfortunate because the interviews are a very subjective role. But we know that oftentimes people look good on paper, but then when you bring them in for the interview, it's not exactly what you expected, or they don't have all the necessary skills that you require. I mean, when the last chapter looked at the job analysis, the job design, what kind of skills are needed for what particular job, they don't meet all that criteria. So the interview is an important aspect of the job selection process. The book also talks about a number of tests and what these tests do reveal about a particular candidate. Even though we're not talking specifically about the interview, that comes later on in the next week's material, but you need to think about a lot of different things when you go into the interview. Think what the employer is looking for. Make sure when you even attempt to apply for a job, make sure you have all the qualifications that the job requires. I mean, sometimes in positions I have seen where people who have qualified for or who have applied for jobs are overqualified, or they're underqualified, or they may have most of the criteria you're looking for, but maybe not all, because you do want that person, when you recruit and select for your organization, you do want that person to be a good fit for your organization. Because one question to think about is what risks are associated if you do not staff your organization correctly. And I think many of you have probably been in job situations where one of your coworkers doesn't fulfill the criteria exactly, but the employer wants to fill that position quickly, so maybe they cut some corners. But who does that affect in the long run? It usually affects coworkers, and you have to think about what that's going to do to an organization. So you want to be very careful. Where do you recruit people? Again, talking about the online websites where you can see job ads. I heard just this week on the local news that a lady had answered a job ad on Craigslist, and as it turned out, it was a scam. And so you got to be really careful about that. And you also, again, need to make sure that if you're going to do online applications, to make clear what it is you're looking for. So again, you can screen the applicants who don't meet that criteria, because there are going to be legal issues as well as to why is one candidate more qualified than the other, and you have to a lot of times document for affirmative action as to why you hired one candidate over another. So these are just some things to think about. I also wanted to mention in this video is, we're approaching the midterm. That will be week 8. I've got the midterm mapped out. I will give you some more information about that next week. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I just want to let you know I have that mapped out. True and false, multiple choice, and short answer questions. It will be, I'll give you a time frame of 2 2 hours to complete it, so I think that should be adequate. If you have questions prior to that, probably keep it out for the entire week of week 8, or at least Monday through Friday before spring break. So I'll get more information to you at a later date, coming up probably next week, so as not to confuse you. This week on Sunday, you should have your paper outline to me by midnight, and then you'll be looking at your discussion number 5, the initial post due by the 27th. The one thing you'll have, the majority of your discussion boards, you'll have 3 after the midterm, but you'll be working hopefully on your paper the rest of the time before the end of the semester. So I know I'm starting to ramble, so I guess it's time to cut this off, but again, if you have questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me, and we'll figure out a way to reach a resolution. So just one more thing before I go. I think the article that you're reading for week 7 is very interesting. Pay close attention to all the players in the article. Pay close attention to, what things could have been done better, what things were missed, and because this is a real world situation, and I think it's a good example of what happens sometimes when we don't follow our own rules and have a process in place. So that's all for now. Hope things are going well, and talk to you soon.